Is the new Swift Conqueror all conquering? Keep watching to find out. So welcome back to the channel. I'm currently sat in a Swift Conqueror, the 2026 model. It's a 580, and I thought it'd be a great opportunity just off the back of the last video that I put together to have a look at this particular model, slightly higher up in the range. It's sort of one run up from the Challenger. The beauty of this model obviously is that it's got the Alder central heating, which seems to be popular. We have that in our model Conqueror. It's a 2023, so the comparisons for me will be quite interesting. I do initially quite like the look of this particular model design this year. I've had a chance just now to go through for half an hour and have a look at some of the features and have a play around with it, and I have noticed some differences to my 23 model. So I'll go through some of those and I'll sort of run through a few of the specs. I've got a data sheet from Swift as well on my phone, just from their website, just to try and be as informative as possible. So hopefully that will help. I did go to the Swift Live event at the weekend, so I had the opportunity to look around the factory. The Elegance was on the line at the time, so the factory was dormant. There was no staff in there. We just got to walk around and sort of see some of the sections in place. It was interesting to see them being built. I had the opportunity to speak to some of the staff there, some of the management, some of the heads of department, and got some assurances on some of the issues that I raised in the last vlog. So I can go through those in one of my future uploads. I'm currently putting together a little bit of a vlog about that visit, talking about sort of my findings, looking at sort of the assurances I was given and going through some of the ranges. So we'll have a look at that in a coming vlog. But I just thought today, I'm up at my local dealer again, Loudham's, and I'll have a quick look around this Conqueror. My initial impressions, I quite like it in terms of the styling. I quite like sort of, it feels comfortable. I like the spec because it's very similar to mine. So there is probably going to be a little bit of bias in this video, just because it's essentially the Caravan that I currently have, with some things added and some things taken away. So just bear that in mind as I'm going through this, and there's clearly going to be a bias because of the Caravan I currently own. However, it is very slightly different. The price is slightly different to sort of when I purchased my car in 23. It's going to be obviously with inflation, etc. So there's that to bear in mind as well. And with the range change in general, and there is less options available throughout the range, I sort of question, would I have made a different decision if I'd have purchased my Caravan in today's market, looking at sort of the competitors or the other models available? And I'll sort of talk about that as well as we go through this. So I'm going to flip the camera around shortly. We'll have a look around the van. I'll try and be sort of as thorough as possible. It is getting quite late on in the day though, so I've not got an awful lot of time. I've not got sort of more than 20 minutes or so, so we'll see what we can do with that. So bear with me, we'll have a look, and let me know in the comments below what you think to this particular model, how you feel it sits in the range, and if you'd be tempted to buy a Swift Conqueror in 2026 based on what you've seen already. Perhaps you went to the show, the event at the weekend, you've been to your dealer maybe and you've seen them, or you've just had a look online. They do look very different in person. It's always difficult, I guess, when you're looking at sort of photographs on websites. It's difficult to know what's AI generated, what's actually real, what's been sort of drawn, etc., opposed to photographs. But yeah, I'd say in person it does look a little more impressive than I was expecting from the photograph. So I'll flip the camera around and let's take a look around. So we'll start with the lounge area. One thing I have noticed is that there is one less locker than in our 2023 model. It's a wider locker now rather than two separates. I don't know whether that makes a difference or not. To me, I think you'd only know in use. Sort of on the face of it, I don't think that's a huge thing. I think there has been some changes though in terms of the length of this area based on this new front design. So this is different now in terms of how they've put the front chest together and how this pull-out table works. So it seems to be a little more ergonomic. It seems to sort of flow a little bit better, and it gives you a natural position to, so I'm playing with this for the first time, this pull-out table. That's right, so got your pull-out, push down. It is a little bit different to mine. Yeah, you've got these back sections now that you can sort of nestle into for watching TV. One thing that we found in our 23 model, it doesn't really have a natural TV place. You sort of have to stick the TV on the front, and it's not always ideal because you've generally got stuff out. It does block the window slightly, and then you've got nowhere to sort of lean. We have got an armrest on the side, but it's only small, and I wouldn't like to necessarily put my body weight against it, so don't tend to use that. So by putting these cushions at the back, changing the design of the front, it does push things out a little, which is why possibly these have shortened. I'm not sure. I'd have to speak to Swift perhaps and get some feedback on that, but on the face of it, I do prefer how this is to our Caravan. You've got the usual, you've got a light switch there. I've noticed you have lost these feature lights that ours have, that were on there, that are on the Elegance as well. I do like these charging pads. I like the fact you've got USB-C. It's just more up to date. This side you have got a 12 volt. In fact, you've not. It's USB-A, USB-C. So again, it's up to date. However, there's no 12 volt there. So if you did want to put your TV here, that option's gone. You've also got no 240 either. So I guess they're assuming that that area now isn't going to be used for a TV. So yeah, that's interesting. However, they have put bracket sort of locators here and at the back. So they've sort of perhaps moved things around a little in that respect. We'll have a look at that in a second. You've got back into this cupboard, you have got the stereo that links to the command system up front, so that's just above the door, and you've got Alder wet central heating in here, which is great. We like that in winter. We have had blown air, we've had Alder, which is better. I guess it's up to you and how you use your van. It does take a long time, I think, Alder to warm up in comparison to blown air, but it's not as dry, the heat, and it just seems to sort of have a more at-home type feel to the heating. So it probably would suit someone who's touring 12 months of the year. The sunroof here is the full width, which I did note in the Challenger. That's one of the things I noticed compared to the Sprite of 2025, the Sprite exclusive, that they have widened, they have put the larger sunroof in the 2026 Challengers, and I did miss that on the last walk around. Speakers up there, the usual, so there's no surprises. I quite like this design. It's sort of a lighter wood, little bit of sort of finish on there that's quite nice across the sort of bottom section, and then it's like a satin finish to the lockers, which is nice. It looks like they've just got the protective film that needs peeling off with it being factory fresh. So the front's quite nice, it's quite spacious. Those curtains, they're sort of nondescript. You know, they've gone for nice neutral colours. However, everything seems to be sort of going down a more brown beige avenue again, which I think is probably the fashion in homes. You know, people are moving away from grey now, so there is less grey in this Caravan. So maybe that's just moving with the times. I did criticise that on the Challenger and on some of sort of the previous Caravans I've seen of other manufacturers, still hanging on to the grey, which, yeah, I'm not sort of sure about now. So yeah, it's nice, it's bright. I do love the Elegance lockers. I know Andrew Jenkinson mentioned on one of his vlogs that he'd like to see something change, sort of more ergonomic, maybe sort of more upmarket lockers, but I guess you've got to be realistic on the price point. If you want those, you obviously step up to the elegance. So yeah, it's a fine balance, isn't it, between price and sort of style and what you want to see, and it's all subjective, of course. So we'll spin around then into the kitchen area. Really good to see this upgraded work surface. So this is, I mean, this makes the Conqueror literally look like an elegance. I think it looks a lot more upmarket. Really sort of huge upgrade, I would say, in that respect. You've got the splashback as well, which you'd expect to see. I like the fact it all blends. It sort of looks like a kitchen at home. It's not trying too hard, you know, with the patterns, etc. It just looks classy. Like the fact you can obviously cover the sink. Just gives you a lot more workspace, to the point with this protrusion here that you don't necessarily need to use this, or wouldn't need to use this as regularly. It would be nice to see maybe this have a cover of sorts. We're always very careful not to scratch this or damage this, so we tend to cover it when we're using the Caravan. So maybe, I know Bailey have looked at covers before which they've taken away, but it's added weight and maybe it just overcomplicates things. So yeah, I do like that area. You have got 2 power sockets on there, and these are lit, so there is LED strip lighting under there as well. There's also strip lighting along the bottom, which looks really nice, I've seen in the photographs. I like the fact that the microwave now is fully surrounded. It's a one piece, so that looks a lot more, I think, upmarket. It sort of looks like you would have at your kitchen at home. So yeah, really like that. That looks good. You've got one locker here above your kitchen area. That's the extractor there, that's the venting, and you have got an extractor in this, which I think is a huge upgrade, particularly if you're using the Caravan all year round. You're going to be using the kitchen sort of autumn, winter, early spring an awful lot more than you would in summer, when you're probably on the Kadak outside or cooking outside on whatever equipment that you're using. So I think that's a really great addition. I like that a lot. So an upgrade for 2026 is this storage area here. I like the fact that they have to tell us how to operate that. You can imagine people pulling and that would break. But you have got this basket area, which, yeah, I mean, that's great. You're going to be able to get everything you need in there. I mean, they had similar storage in ours, not in the same way, under the sink area, but you have lost a little bit of that because these smaller drawers here. So I guess you do need that area. So you've probably gained a reasonable amount of space compared to the 2023 model. And again, it just makes it feel like a kitchen at home, more usable, particularly if you like using the kitchen space in the Caravan. But yeah, I can understand why, looking at that now, if that wasn't there, you would be scratching your head trying to figure out how that works. Cutlery drawer, that's nice. It's actually all furniture. It's fabricated, so you've not just got a plastic tray in there. Yeah, this is factory fresh. It's lovely. You've got your Thetford cooker. Like the fact you've got your electric hot plate. You'd expect it at this price point. So this is for sale at the moment at £37,090. So you know, you'd expect to see that on this level of this price point and level of van. Moving across then to the Dometic fridge. This is one of the fridge freezer that opens both ways. We like this. It works for us in our Caravan. I like the Dometic fridge freezers. Yeah, you know, there's nothing more to say really. You'd expect it. The freezer compartment is small, we find, but realistically, for you know, a week away, 2 weeks away, it's enough. Maybe if you're staying longer periods of time, you might want a little bit more space, but that's good to see. This is where the sort of grey comes back, but it is minimal. There's only sort of splashes of grey. So in the aerial, so that's in ours, that's in the wardrobe in the bedroom, so that's moved, and you've also got the solar charge controller in there as well, so you can still use that for storage. And then you've got the cupboard at the bottom, and then in here is your table, so really useful space. At least it's got somewhere to call its own. And this is the big upgrade for me. This is what I really like. It's an actual area for the TV, which I genuinely wish we had in our Caravan. I think it's something I'm going to consider doing. If we don't swap the Caravan in the next couple of years, I'll probably look at having something similar to this put on the end of where the fridge is, just so we've got a place to hang the TV. So you've got two 240 volt sockets, you've got your aerial 12 volt, and then obviously you've got the opportunity there to stick a bracket on, and then you can obviously sit back and watch TV from over here. If you got, I'm assuming if you got a bracket that would extend out and flip, you could flip it that way also, but there's not the necessity because you have the TV bracket in the back. So yeah, that's really positive. Huge upgrade. I wish ours had that. It would, yeah, really make life easier for me having to set everything up at the front constantly. And although you couldn't keep it in transit, just to be able to slide it onto there would just be so much easier. So yeah, I think that's probably from feedback from customers and just seeing how the consumers of these Caravans use their vehicles, which, yeah, you just lean back like at home and watch TV from that sort of point. Let's move through into the bedroom area. Already notice a difference between the 23 and ours is this slight protrusion here. Just sort of pulls across, well, just comes across, and then you've got your screen that pulls across from that side, just a partition. I know it's like a love-hate thing, these, not everyone sort of likes them. However, I don't really see what other option you'd have with this design without sticking doors on, and then it sort of starts to make it feel less open, which is what people like. So yeah, I'm assuming that's there just to sort of, for your cooking area, just to give a little bit of space around here for food, the heat, etc., to section it off slightly. How that'd work for us with a sort of young child probably banging into it constantly or stubbing your toe in the night, I'm not sure, but yeah, it's different. Again, you'd have to use it to figure out whether or not that actually has an impact on a positive or a negative. I do think there's been some positive changes in the bedroom area, so some of those changes I'll show you in a moment. However, I've got to mention these Duvet mattresses. I think these are great. We've got one in ours, and we've had the Duvet on the last 3 Caravans we've had, and they are great. We had it on the first one, which was the Freestyle, which was a dealer special 2021 model, on the 2022 Conqueror, the leaky Conqueror, and then the 23 that we've got now. And yeah, I sleep well on those. It doesn't feel like you're camping when you're sleeping in one of those beds. They're not going to be as big as a king size or super king at home, but still the comfort's definitely there. In terms of improvements on this particular van, the 26 model I think has nailed it in terms of these spaces here under the wardrobes. So what I tend to find when I'm sleeping in here, I bang my elbows a lot in the night. I bang my head a couple of times as well, where our wardrobes come straight down, and it is a little bit frustrating. It's not often, but occasionally you do it and you sort of curse. That makes life a lot easier. Yes, you've still got somewhere that you can bang. I guess that's inevitable. You're not going to solve it entirely, but that's taken sort of a cue from the Elegance range. And having this as well, just to stick books, magazines, your phone, your tablet, whatever it might be, Kindle, it's just nice to have that. You can stick it in there, you know it's safe, it's not going to get knocked off, you can fit your drink on top, whereas in ours you've only got a small shelf at the front, and you put a drink on there and you're just hoping that it's not going to get knocked off, or you put your phone on there and then you've barely got room to stick your drink. So that's a huge improvement. Yes, you lose a little bit of storage underneath, but I'll take that for the fact that you've got that extra room, and the fact that you've obviously got USB-C as well yet again, which is great to see. So I've moved in, got a few things there already. So I've got your reservoir there for your Alder central heating. It's not a full length wardrobe, so you've got to bear that in mind for sort of long coats, etc. However, yeah, I think that's the compromise worth making. And Caravan is all about, or Caravan design is all about compromise. You can't have it all. If you have it all, it's too heavy. You won't fit it all in. And I guess that's why there's so many models throughout the range, because you've got the opportunity to sort of pick one that works for you. So seeing that side, you've not got as much sort of intrusion because you've not got the reservoir in there. You have got these underneath, which is good as well. The drawers, Ours hasn't got drawers, they just open and the voids at the back. So what you tend to find is you get home, you're looking for something, some clothing, sort of weeks later, and then you find it at the back of the void because it's just, you've pushed it to the back in the holiday as you've been sort of grabbing things. So yeah, bedroom's good. Now, whether it's my imagination or not, and I need to check this, I think that roof light is smaller than ours. So it's a Hecky roof light. I believe it's Hecky, is it? Just checking now. But yeah, it's yeah, it is. But it is definitely, looking at that now in more detail, smaller than the one that we have. So I must admit, as I'm stood here, the front is no different in terms of light levels, but it does feel slightly darker in this bedroom. Yeah, the more I look at that, that is certainly smaller. So yeah, it does have an impact. However, I guess, you know, you want the bedroom to be a relaxing space. The lounge area, the bath, the washroom, sorry, you want that area to be as light as possible. So if you are going to make a compromise, that's not the end of the world. And looking at it as well, it might be, I'm not sure what I need to check the dimensions, but that might be ideal for aircon, as we dropped our aircon into, so we've got the Truma Compact Plus, I think it is, into here, and it worked perfectly. So that might be the case if you wanted to have it positioned in the back, depending on where you wanted to steal the light from. So spinning around just here, I really like all this extra trim, just finishes it off. Ours looks a bit unfinished here. You sort of got the panel join at the top, and it just doesn't quite look finished. They used to put on some models like plastic sort of trim at the top, which didn't look particularly nice. That's good to see. It looks far more finished, and it's, you know, you can tell it's sort of cabin, you know, it's been in the cab shop, it's been fabricated, fit for purpose, it's made for that. So I really like that. That I'd like to see that in mine, to be honest with you. Windows looks, yeah, that's the same size window. Wall pads on the side. This is slightly different. So we've got a big cupboard here that sort of protrudes out and it opens up. You've got the mirror here, which is smaller now. It wouldn't matter to me, but my wife uses the mirror for doing her makeup, doing her hair in this section, so that would matter to her. There's not as much storage, so I mean, that's just token storage. But again, you know, you win some, you lose some. You could have had the whole corner maybe, but then if you'd have had the whole corner, you're obviously going to perhaps push into that sort of window section there and the shelf at the bottom. Yeah, it's okay. I think I prefer ours just because it angles out into the bed. My wife would probably agree on that one. We have got some small cupboards under here as well. Again, you're probably talking toiletries and things in there because it is quite small, but I'll take some storage over no storage. That would be my sort of feelings there. You've got a socket for plugging in, which if you want a hairdryer, etc., you're going to need that. This is a game changer. I know it seems so simple and it should have perhaps been in ours. We've got a place for the TV now, and you've also got power for it, 12 volt. What you haven't got, in fact you've got the TV, but you've not got USBs. A lot of obviously gadgets now are running off USB, but you might be able to sort of power off your TV anyway if you've got a modern TV. And for us, generally, we stream most of our stuff just because it's very difficult to get a good TV reception at most campsites. So yeah, bedroom area, I would say if we're going to look at the 23 to the 26, I think I'm preferring the lounge area and this bedroom to the 23 in most aspects. I think it's a shame to lose a little bit of light, but if you're going to compromise, yeah, that's an area that I would be happy with. I think it is a little bit more brown than ours, a bit more beige and brown. Ours is a lot whiter, a bit more modern, a bit brighter. So I think I do prefer that, although this isn't, it definitely isn't something that would put me off. So far, I would say the actual interior of this Caravan is probably an improvement. I've spotted, again, a few things that are perhaps negatives. The door, I didn't mention that. The window's smaller than ours. That's possibly a cost saving. Obviously some of the skylights here are smaller. Yeah, the roof lights, but in general, I would say, I think in terms of usability of the van, someone's actually sat down and thought about how this van is used, and how basically people will holiday in this caravan, and I think they've overcome some of the problems that we've found. So that's really positive. We'll come through into the washroom, and I can see some big changes straight away in here. I like the fact you've got the towel rail radiator. I think that's good. That's an improvement. I noticed this paneling in here. This is really popular in people's houses now. I think that'll date, just because it's typical of things that are sort of more avant-garde. I think it'll date in people's houses, never mind in caravans. But yeah, that's okay. I think I've seen coachmen doing that in the Lusso. You've got little cupboard area, little sort of storage area for your toiletries. That's no better or worse than ours. This is okay whilst you're obviously on holiday, but you wouldn't want to travel anything in it. So I'd probably stick my aftershave, my contact lenses. You'd probably have your deodorants and things in there maybe. I do think this is the same for ours as well, the Thetford toilets. The fact that it's just the plastic unit pushed against the back. It would be nice to see them actually built into furniture, but again, whether that's a cost thing, but I think that would make it feel a little bit more upmarket and match the rest of the caravan. So that's probably a downside for us in ours. It's not as obvious in ours because we've got a lower shelf, so it sort of makes it feel at least a little bit more ergonomic, like it's built in, like it's purposeful, whereas this just feels like, what it is basically, it's just an all-in-one sort of out the box unit. So that might be something to sort of perhaps moving forwards look at in terms of this particular Conqueror model. Nice big mirror. You've got storage underneath. You don't need any more than that, I don't think, for what you're going to stick in there. Toilet rolls and cleaning products, etc. New style sink. I don't know, what do I think about this? I prefer ours. I get it. It's relatively deep. You could wash your face in that. You're not going to get as much splashback when you're cleaning your teeth, etc. But the material, it feels slightly porous. I mean, I might be wrong, but it feels like the type of plastic that over time is going to discolour. But that's probably unfair to make that assumption without sort of seeing it 3-4 years old. But I don't know. I don't think I like that, but I can see how some would sort of compromise just for the fact it's quite a deep sink. You could fill that up, have a shave, wash your face, etc. Tap's okay, it's out of the way, different to some of the taps that Swift have used. Big upgrade in here compared to ours. It's back to the 2022 Conqueror with these big Eccy roof lights. Absolutely love that, and it's great to see as well they've got blinds on. We had to pay extra. I actually ordered and had fitted when we purchased our caravan, and it cost a fortune because I had to buy the complete Eccy roof lights with the blinds built in. Even though I didn't use the whole thing, I only wanted the blinds because ours has got fly screen and blinds now, but the 23 model only came with fly screen, so that was quite a cost. I'm sure it was £200 or £300, something like that, just to upgrade to blinds. But in summer you need it, otherwise, you know, my son would be waking up at, I mean, he does wake up anyway early, but earlier than usual if we couldn't black it out. So love that. I know Beck, my wife, she'd absolutely love that as well, because she sort of commented on the 23. She was really upset when we handed the 22 model back, because for that particular reason, because it was a downgrade in the roof lights in the washroom. It's a one-piece door now rather than a folding door. It's still not a one-piece shower sort of sealed unit. It still relies on sealing. Our Caravan's currently, in fact, it's ready to collect now. It's had the shower all resealed under warranty, as it had a recall I mentioned in the last vlog. So we'll have a look what that looks like when I pick it up next week. But yeah, I think it would be a huge improvement to have it just as one piece. And I've mentioned it to Swift as well at the factory. I said, from a warranty claim perspective, from a longevity point of view, and taking out the sort of human error perspective of working in the factory and just not getting enough sealant in, it's going to make life a lot easier, surely. Do you like the big sort of shelf you've got here? I use that in ours. It's slightly smaller. I'd be interested to know what this material is, learn a bit more about this. I'm going to the NEC on the 14th and I'm going to chat with the guys on the Swift stand. I'm sure that must be waterproof, otherwise it wouldn't be in here. Because if I was in here showering, you know, it'd definitely get wet. I don't think there's any way you couldn't not get that wet. So yeah, that'd be interesting to know whether that's waterproof or not. I can only make the assumption that it is, just for the fact it's in the shower cubicle. And then you've got the hanging rail there. We use that for wet towels and what have you. I've been to the beach, it's always got something hanging on there. Big improvement for me as well is this door. It's thicker, so it won't flex as much. And also, this was an issue for Swift. I've not seen many Swift Caravans, brand new, this is from factory, with this type of sliding door that hasn't shot across and hit this and damaged it. We had a repair on ours, even sort of, you know, when we picked it up and we'd not even used it, just because it had sort of basically the handle hits here, but they've changed it now, so the way it actually, there we go, and it's magnetic as well. That's good. So it's a lot more positive. They've clearly looked at this and improved it, which is good. So whether that's from warranty claims, feedback from users, that's good also. So yeah, it's another thing that I think has been looked at from a usability perspective, from actually someone's on holiday, they're using the van, and what could they do to improve it. So yeah, that's really good. The sizes of the areas look very similar. If there is much difference, it'll be minimal. One thing I did notice when I was looking at the Swift brochure is that this Conqueror is 7 foot 5 inches wide. The 23 Conqueror is 7 foot 6 inches wide. My 23 has a different back panel. So the back panel on the 23 model is the same as the Elegance. So it's not 8 foot wide, but it is the same style with the pulsing sort of indicators. This has got the same back panel as the Sprite, as the Challenger. And from the Sprite, Challenger and Conqueror in 26, it looks like they're all, unless you're going for the Grande models, they're all 7 foot 5. So I'm not sure why that changed. Maybe it's to make production easier, just to sort of simplify production. That could be the case. That's something that I noticed, that whether it's a positive or a negative, it's difficult to say. But in general, I think the Conqueror is a particular model, the 580, 7 foot 5 inches wide, standard width. It's a nice Caravan at this sort of level, but it does have stiff competition. I mean, its direct competitor from another UK manufacturer would probably be the Bailey Unicorn Deluxe, which is slightly cheaper and slightly lighter. So these aren't the lightest of vans. You can have these up-plated, the single axle, standard width to 1750 kg. This particular one is 1660. And I think mine was 1686. So this is 26 kilograms lighter than the NTPLM of the 23 model. So where that difference is, I'm not sure. I'd like to know. So it is slightly lighter, but you can have it up plated to 1750, which is good. It's useful, obviously, for the payload. In terms of spec, I'll run through that now. So I'll just spin round. So spec wise then, looking at the Swift website, this has got a 120 watt roof mounted solar panel. It's got an external barbecue point, as you'd expect. Exclusive Duvalite Strato mattress. It's got the solid work surface kitchen worktop, dual hinge Dometic tall slimline fridge freezer, which I prefer over the Thetfords in the Challenger. I think these feel far more upmarket. And it's got the new 2 pull-out wire baskets in the kitchen cupboard. And then in terms of spec, I did weights of the MTPLM. I'll just double check. Yeah, so 1686 on the 23 model compared to 1660 now. And there is that inch difference on the width of the actual Caravans. So there has been some slight changes in relation to that. So whether that's de-speccing or whether it's just better use, essentially, of the materials. Maybe they've just got lighter, you know, they've found ways to save money in certain areas. who knows? That would definitely be worth knowing, because 26 kg is quite a number. Maybe it's just because it's got that different moulding on the back, and it is very slightly narrower. That could literally be it. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you like the Conqueror range? What's your thoughts on the Swift lineup? Price point 37k. Is that too much for a Caravan? Is it too much for a Caravan, sort of single axle Caravan of this spec? I think when we purchased ours, they were sort of in the 35 region, so they have crept up very slightly by a couple of thousand. There's generally always a deal of some sort to be done, I'm sure, but it is slightly more expensive, say looking at the Bailey Unicorn Deluxe. So yeah, let us know in the comments below what your thoughts are. I'm going to have a look at the Challenger 630 next. I'm really sort of quite intrigued by that, purely because it's the Grande 630. It's got a French bed at the back, but it's transverse. So they've released that this year for 2026 with the Challenger Grande 640, which also has a French bed, but it's got a side washroom. So they've got two very similar vans, but the 630 is different just because it's a transverse style French bed at the back. And I'm interested to see sort of you know, what that actually looks like. I want to sort of have a feel of it, have a good route around, and it's interesting to see they've got two very similar vans. One's got an L-shaped lounge, one's got the traditional sort of facing each other, so there is a difference there, but that's in the 8-foot wide Grande, the Challenger. So I'm going to look at that in a future vlog. And I also want to talk about some feedback that I had from Swift at the weekend in relation to the previous vlog. So they did watch the vlog and they spoke to me about it, and they were interested to know my further thoughts, and they seemed quite receptive to the ideas. But they gave some feedback on the Sprite Alpine 4 from 2025 and the Challenger 500, and they gave it a different sort of perspective, which is quite interesting, and I want to speak to you about that in a separate vlog. And someone commented actually as well and spoke about depreciation. Even though the 25 models are new, they've still book value depreciated. So we'll take some things into consideration and we'll look at that, and we'll perhaps see whether or not that argument that I had was still valid. So I was having a think on the way home in the car about the Conqueror 580 and whether or not it would tempt me to change. So I'm just back home in the office and I've logged onto the Swift website and I'm just looking at the prices now. So the RRP is 36,595. So the price at Loudham's is a little higher than that. So for me to change my current 2023 model to the 2026, you're probably talking somewhere in the region of, I mean, absolute ballpark figure, it's going to be over £10,000, somewhere between 10 and 15,000, I'd assume, to change. So you have to start looking at whether or not perhaps you're gaining enough to do that. I think the go-to for me in the range would probably be the Conqueror 645, because I'm wanting a twin axle next. So again, that's, if we have a look now at the price of the 645, here we go, let's have a look, 39,395. So yeah, it's going to be a significant cost to change for me to jump into a 3-year newer twin axle Conqueror. So yeah, I do feel that it's become quite significant now, the actual cost to change prices, which is perhaps why people aren't changing as much. Perhaps that's why there's been a slight downturn in the industry and caravan sales, because it's no longer costing 3, 4, 5 grand to change into another caravan, which you can perhaps justify, even the same caravan but a slightly newer, more refreshed layout. So that was one thing I wanted to discuss. The other thing that perhaps I should have gone into a little bit more depth on, because it is contentious, I think it's a Marmite type issue, is just looking at the photographs of the exterior now, is the exterior of the Conqueror. So they have gone for a very different look with the external lockers, so the access lockers. They're now framed in grey, as are the gas, electric, external electric, the access for the water, external water point there as well, so you can stick the shower on. I use that to hose down the front of the Caravan before I put the cover on, specialised cover on. So yeah, I guess it's a love or a hate. I mean, I quite like it. I know it's not necessarily a new type design. Eldis were doing this some 10 years ago. Some of their models, special editions, had the grey panels on. So yeah, it's different. It doesn't offend me. I suppose the benefit is that they're not going to discolour and go sort of a yellow colour in the sun as they age. So that's a positive. It will stand out. It is definitely a brave move. So yeah, it's one of those, I guess. It's love or hate, but I probably am more on the side of liking it. The rear panel is the same as or it seems to be the same as the Sprite and the Challenger. I do prefer the rear panel on our 2023 model. It has the same style rear panel as the Elegance. I think that's why we've got smaller Hecky roof lights in the Washroom, because of the way that moulding actually curves over onto the roof line. So that's perhaps why that was the case between the 22 and the 23, that the difference in those panels, because the 22 model had the same panel as the Swift and Challenger. For us, I think it only changed for the 2023, which was really smart. We like it. So there are some external differences. The rear access locker for under the transverse bed on the 580 is significantly wider. Now that is a real bonus, because we store our table and our chairs under there, and sometimes you have to sort of angle them, and it takes a few attempts to get everything in. I think with the wider locker, it's going to make life a lot easier. So again, I think it's one of those situations where actually someone's listened to user feedback, to consumer feedback, and actually put that in place because of perhaps how people are using the Caravans, how they're using the storage under the bed, and perhaps similar to me, where I've had those issues trying to get a decent sized table and some decent, 3 decent sized chairs under there. So yeah, let me know in the comments below, what do you think? I felt like I had to put this add-on onto the vlog because I missed those things out, and I wanted to talk about cost to change as well, because I think that's significant. If you were talking maybe 4 or 5 grand to swap, yeah, I'd be definitely interested in looking at the 645. Maybe if it was, just a little bit more than that perhaps, but I think it'd be far too significant without enough gain, which is a shame. So yeah, that's the Swift Conqueror. I am thinking about doing some desktop type vlogging where I can sort of share my screen and go through some of the ranges of Swift and other manufacturers. I want to have a look at the Bailey as well. So yeah, that might be something I do in more detail, looking at the Challenger range and also looking at the Conqueror. I also want to revisit the Sprite range. So I know I looked at the Sprite exclusive, but I want to look at the new relaunched, I think more appropriately spec'd Sprite range now for 2026. So that's something else that I'm thinking of doing as well. But yeah, lots to think about. But for now, I think that covers the Conqueror 580 and the comparison that I wanted to do, and perhaps sort of try and tempt myself into the 580. But yeah, as much as I like it, I think financially it wouldn't work. It's perhaps too similar, which might be a good thing for someone who's buying the 26 model, that they haven't deviated too far from the 2023. So let me know what you think in the comments. Please like and subscribe. That encourages me to make these videos, and we'll see you in the next one.